Hours, Joe.
Staring at each other with accusing eyes, keep our voices low.
Well, that didn't work.
And we are live.
Mike, how do you feel about that? Oh, God.
Hey, guys.
I should have set the over 18 and above thing for the podcast to make sure nobody under 18 watched this, but you know what? It's too late for that. It's too late for that.
F it.
Fuck commerce.
Well, I think this is the All Night Long Wrestling Podcast. Am I wrong?
It's about to be an hour and 50 minutes of Mike giving everybody the finger.
Nice.
Ratings.
And it worked for Russo. It'll work for me.
Classic Russo.
Speaking of classic booking, I just watched Trish versus Mickie James at WrestleMania. Joe, you remember that one?
I do. Is that when she fingers her in the middle of the match? What happened? What went wrong? Are we still live?
That was a real spit take, Joe. That was a real life.
That's the right match, though, right? That's the one I'm thinking of.
Yeah, then she does the whole, like, going down on you signal. Yeah, it was pretty interesting.
I'm just going to ask, why were you watching that match?
So, don't be distracted as I comb my glorious beard. I saw, like, one of those lists on Facebook. It was, like, top 10 divas WWE want you to forget or some shit, and she was, Mickie James was, like, number 3.
Oh.
It's not because Batista posted naked pictures of her gray vagina all over. It wasn't because of that.
Well, all right.
All right. Was she in? Wasn't she in Penthouse, or am I thinking something different?
I think she was in like some kind of weird foot fetish magazine.
Oh, okay. If I knew the name of it, I would pimp it out, but I don't know.
I think any sort of magazine porn is a little extra facto.
Oh yeah, that's fair.
I mean, fuck it. I mean,
That's fine.
Playboy doesn't even do naked anymore, so.
Oh.
Oh, wait, let me just move this. There we go. Anyway, who are we? Where are we? Brian, what are you watching on your Roku that's more important than this show right now?
Truth be told, I'm on the Indie Wrestling Network. There's, let's see, we have American Indie, Canadian Indie, British Indie, European, Australian, Singapore, and Brazilian Indie Wrestling I can watch right now.
Cool, I'm stuck watching that shit on the USA Network. Tight.
By the way, to answer your question earlier, Mike, where are we? The answer is the Seventh Circle of Hell.
Oh, yeah, that's...
Oh, yeah.
Look, I just found Molly Ringwald's career.
Hey, Mr. Drummond's here. Okay.
Mr. Drummond, nice.
Well, I feel like this is probably the time in the show where we should start talking about pro wrestling.
You know, we can do we could also look at my traps. I mean, if we could spend a couple of minutes on the formation of the left as opposed to the right, it's maybe it's the wide angles make me look good, but God.
The only thing I feel like it's going to be unfair to the people that are only listening to the audio that won't be able to see the traps. So maybe we should, direct them to our Facebook page, and that way they can see, visually the traps and everything else that comes along with it.
It's a good idea, Joe. You can find us at YouTube on the All Night Long Wrestling Facebook YouTube page, and on Facebook at All Night Long Wrestling Podcast, and on Twitter at All Night Long WP, and on Instagram at All Night Long WP. Did I get them all?
I mean, you got them all.
And now we're over there flicking the pod beam. What's that one?
Yeah.
So here we are.
It's a little weathered. So
weathered. Just like Mickie James is. Never mind.
Yeah. Full circle.
It wasn't, Joe. It was like an oddly shaped peanut M&M.
It's a rhombus.
Oh my God. Anyway.
Parallelogram. So why don't we...
Brian, the shaking of the head, audio bad business.
Well, I feel like just my silence is just a shaking of the head.
Yeah, but I'm just thinking, I think when you shake your head, it hits a microphone.
I don't give two rats' asses.
Two. 2 asses of rats. Okay.
So
Mike, did you watched the Ring of Honor 14th anniversary show last Friday?
yep, I did. I should.
I didn't get to see it, but I can. We obviously Brian and I could comment on the booking choices and stuff. But do you want to maybe just give? You don't have to do a full recap, obviously, but just your thoughts on the show overall and some of the matches that you thought were good and not good for the listeners.
Yeah. I watched the Spice Network instead of watching the BJ Whitmer match.
Hmm.
So there was that. I mean, the show kicked off. I don't know if the matches were slow or if the crowd was just so putrid, dreadful, horrid abomination of a crowd that it made the opening match seem slow. But I mean, Roderick Strong versus Ishii versus Bobby Fish was okay. I mean, I love all three guys in the match. Obviously, I'm a fan of all three, and I didn't like the placement. I understood why they did it, as you mentioned, Joe, because they had another triple threat title match. But Ishii's style is we really don't know how it's going to get over in America for the casual fan. Bobby Fish and Roderick Strong have a faster paced style, and they could have a good match. It just seemed like a curious choice to open the show with, especially not knowing how the crowd was going to be, and unfortunately they were, like they were. Interesting that Ishii got the pin on Roddy. I guess they're going with the whole Ishii said at I forget the name of the last New Japan show. After that he beat Roddy for the title, he said, Honor Rising.
Mm-hmm.
He said he could take on anybody in Ring of Honor, so I'm sure that's going to lead to a segment down the line. But I didn't expect Bobby Fish to win. I wanted him to. It seemed like before Ishii was in the match, they were building to a Bobby Fish title win, but the Ishii winning of the title was strange. I didn't see it coming, and I don't know. I don't think many people did. But how'd you? I know you guys didn't see it, but how'd you feel about the booking of the match?
Yeah, I thought it was weird too. I kind of liked how they were building up to the rematch of Strong and Fish 1-on-1. From the final battle situation they had with like Roddy tapping out, but the referee didn't see it, and all that business, and Fish kind of running them down in promos leading up to it. So I was actually really looking forward to that match.
Yeah, I mean, I also liked how Fish followed him to the autograph signing as before one of the Ring of Honor shows, and they posted that online. I think that's really cool how they implement the social media that way.
Yeah, so I like that, and I don't know. I wasn't expecting them to kind of turn Roddy heel, which is I guess what they did or what they were doing. And then like the Ishii win was kind of out of nowhere, at least for me. And not that I have nothing against him personally as a wrestler. I just thought it was late timing, considering they had taped all the TV shows leading up to the pay-per-view with Strong and Fish, and then like the week before they inserted Ishii into the match. So that was a little bit off to me. And then I think the match was maybe like 8 or 9 minutes long.
The match was 9 minutes and like 5 seconds or something ridiculous.
Okay, yeah. So I mean, you would think like just standard Ring of Honor that it would be longer than 9 minutes with those 3 guys in the ring too.
That was a big issue I had with the whole pay-per-view was the timing of the matches. You're gonna get BJ Whitmer and Adam Page more than those 3. It didn't make sense. I believe that was the next match was the Whitmer and Page. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't remember off the top of my head.
I think you're right. Yeah.
I didn't watch that. It's BJ Whitmer. Aside from him powerbombing Jimmy Jacobs into the crowd, I'm not interested. After that, Joe, I can't really think any other matches on the card. I don't want to go in order because it would take forever, but I did enjoy the Moose and Okada match.
Mm-hmm.
Moose is good, and Okada can, he could work. He gets good matches out of Bedlock Fale, so he's going to get a good match out of Moose. I would say the card started turning around after the Tanahashi and Elgin match. That was another really good match. Tanahashi and Elgin defeated the Briscoes.
Mm-hmm.
And if anybody's keeping score, New Japan went undefeated. Excuse me. They went undefeated all night, which is, it seems like a lot of people think it's a lot of give from Ring of Honor and take from New Japan and this whole talent exchange. But the high point of the card for everybody was the Elite the Bullet Club, Kenny Bucks. Wow. Kenny Omega and the Bucks versus ACH, Matt Sydal, and ACH, Matt Sydal, and who?
It's funny. I was trying to think of it before, and I couldn't remember off the top of my head. Is it a New Japan guy?
Kushida.
Kushida. There you go.
Thank you. That was, I think, the Bucks and Kenny Omega have a better. I don't want to say better, maybe not a better chemistry, but an equal amount of chemistry to AJ and the Bucks. And following those three guys is really, really hard to do. And that match was just spot after spot after spot after spot. And then to go from such a high-paced match like that to a War Machine-style match, which is more plotting, more power moves, I think it was just a bad choice of the card. Although I liked the War Machine match. I thought it was a really good match. I thought it was done well. They did what they had to do. They got the win. And it was just, I think the clock struck like 11:05. The pay-per-view was over at 12 p.m. Eastern, 11:05, and the War Machine match wasn't even starting yet.
Mm-hmm.
And you had War Machine versus the All Night Express, and then you had the Triple Threat main event. So I was really curious booking. I think maybe they tried to fit too much into the card, and they could have put Whitmer versus Page on the pre-show.
Mm-hmm.
What was the other? I'm missing a match. It was Whitmer, Page.
The Briscoes.
Nah, yeah, the Briscoes versus Elgin Tanahashi we talked about.
Right.
Where did Goto fit on this card?
Oh, Goto versus Dalton Castle. That's what it was.
Yep.
Yeah, Goto versus Dalton Castle. It was a good match. I had nothing against it, but the crowd was so dead the entire time. Up until really, I would say up until maybe the Tanahashi matches when they came alive, because they popped really hard for Tanahashi. But I mean, the main event, I still think the main event was the best match on the card. It told more of a story than it was just the not the traditional, but the spot fest that was Kenny Omega and the Bucks. I thought it was. You had three guys in the ring who they've worked well with each other before, and they've worked well with everybody really. And to have all three of them, it wasn't just like two guys wrestle in the ring, one guy waits on the outside and catches his breath. There was a lot of three-person stuff going on. There wasn't a lot of dull moments. And then the finish was awesome. Kyle O'Reilly had Adam Cole in the rear naked choke, and as Adam Cole shocked him off, Jay Lethal hit a double lethal injection for the win. So it just doesn't make the booking the entire night seem to be questionable. Where do Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly go from here, Joe? What do you do?
I don't know. I think it's really for any of those guys. I don't know like what the next feud is. So for even just for Lethal, right? If we just look at the title, who would be his next challenger as far as like somebody on the babyface side? Right now, we read some spoilers from the TV taping that happened the night after, and they're setting up Donovan Dijak, right, as like an interim thing. Which
was probably eerily similar to how they threw in Kenny King Kenny King. Wow, what is wrong with me? They threw in Kane last year. Who did Kane? It was the main event picture against Seth Rollins. Yeah. You knew he wasn't going to win it, but it was just an interim guy to keep it going. That's what I was thinking. Like, you have guys like Kenny King and Red Titus. You have the All Night Express that really don't have much to do now. You have the Briscoes that just lost again. They don't have much to do. I don't know. War Machine, they did bring back the Motor City Machine Guns, which I liked. So you have a great tag division, but it just, I don't know. There's a lot of guys that don't have, like, what if you're Jay Briscoe? What do you do if you're Jay Briscoe? You were main eventing undefeated for 3 years, and now you're, in tag team mid-card obscurity. What happens now?
And he never got his rematch.
True. Good call.
Which is weird because they just never mentioned it, but I guess they will eventually. I would hope.
Well, I don't know if Ring of Honor has a rematch clause like Raw does.
That's true. You would think a guy who, like you said, didn't lose for 3 years, the first time he lost, he'd get a shot at his belt, but who knows?
I would also think the main event gets more than 15 minutes, but I don't know, Brian. I didn't book it.
We're not doctors.
Yeah. So I think just based off of like your feedback and like some of the recaps I read the next day, it sounded like it was largely viewed as a somewhat disappointing show. Not like a bad show, but just kind of disappointing in some senses. Maybe for some of the things that you mentioned, the TV title triple threat and stuff like that. I don't know. That's sort of the feedback that I had received. Would you guys agree with that?
I would say it was barely average. The main event, you have 2 4-star matches on the card, so I can't call that in good conscience a disappointment. But I will say it was lackluster, maybe, because I mean those matches really held up, and the other matches would have been better. They really suffered from the crowd. But then I think it could have been the placement of the matches too, so they really didn't do themselves any favors. I think you could have kicked off the show. Although no, because it's a title match. I keep forgetting that the Bucks match or the Elite match was a Never 6-man tag title. So you really had the Never 6-man tag title. You had the TV title, and then the Ring of Honor tag, and then you had the heavyweight title. So you did have 3 title matches in a row. So I don't know. Would you have kicked off the show with that? Oh, and then Alex Shelley versus Daniels, which was it was a fine match, but
Yeah, I guess it was more about the storyline, right? So.
Which is fine, but then there were a couple matches on there that just seemed like just to have matches with very little build, like the Dalton Castle versus Goto match.
Mm.
Well, it was supposed to be Ishii Goto, right? But they had to switch it.
Yeah.
Right, it's supposed to be Ishii Goto, and then you threw Ishii in there. I could, and you're not gonna. Wait, can I curse?
Yes.
You're not gonna fucking end the BJ Whitmer feud yet. You're gonna drag this feud on again. Joe, how many pay-per-views is now I'm watching BJ Whitmer wrestle?
Well, I think, that whole thing is kind of messed up. Not to go down a rabbit hole with the whole thing, but like it was supposed to probably be him and Carino last year, right? And then Whitmer got hurt for a while, and then when he was ready to go, Carino had his neck problem, and he couldn't go. And now they switched it to Whitmer and Page, and then like Whitmer still represents the decade, but there is no decade, right? Because all the guys left, so there is no. It's just him, and then he fights Page, and Page is like a young guy, and then he beats Page. So that was kind of a weird decision, I think. And so I don't know if the money is still like they're trying to get to him and Carino at some point, and maybe that's where Whitmer loses. But like, why would you risk, or like why would you use Page as a stepping stone for Whitmer to get to Carino? Like that seems backwards to me.
I agree.
So I don't know, that whole thing I think kind of fell off the rails with all the injuries that they had, which were unexpected. But I mean I don't know, just that's the part that confuses me about that, I guess.
Can I represent the Seattle Supersonics since they no longer exist? Can I do that?
Sean Kemp.
The gloves, Gary Payton.
Yeah.
That'll be Detlef Schrempf.
Yeah,
that's a good one. Yeah, I mean, if I'm gonna grade the whole pay-per-view, I'm gonna give it I'll give it a C+. Just above passing, barely. I can't completely hate on it, like I said, because in my mind there were 2 4-star matches, so it's not a complete failure, but it was not what I expected.
Yeah. So I don't know, I guess we'll see.
As good as it could have been. Before we move on, I just wanted to ask you guys, because you're my resident Japanese experts. Have you heard the rumors of Ibushi headed to WWE? Or NXT, more likely?
I have not, but...
Apparently he said something along the line. I know he said he left. He wanted to go to... he wants to go where Nakamura and somebody else who was in WWE were. I can't remember the other guy.
Tommy?
I don't think it was a Tommy, but it might have been. I thought it was an American guy, to be honest. But
probably Hakushi.
It might have been Ryback. I'm not sure, but basically he said that those were the best wrestlers in the world. And I read a lot of rumors that he told New Japan he wants to be a freelancer for now, but that whole Cruiserweight series, apparently there was some rumors. I was curious how you guys thought he would translate, because I know nothing other than one YouTube clip I saw of Ibushi.
Was it when he wrestled a doll? And he put the doll over in like 15 minutes?
All right, so you know what? I've seen 2 Ibushi clips. There was the other one. There was the other one that Joe showed me. I forget who he was wrestling. Those
He was in it was a 4-way match he was in at Chikara, and I think that sequence was like him and Generico for like a couple minutes.
That's right. Yes.
Him, Generico, Matt Jackson, and somebody else I can't remember. We also saw Ibushi versus AJ Styles, right?
Jigsaw. I think so. Yeah.
And Ibushi versus Nakamura too. So I'm a big fan of Ibushi. He kind of reminds me of Ricochet.
Okay.
Oh, I'm throwing a
flyer.
flag. I forgot. Throwing a flag today. I watched Prince Puma and Brian, help me out. You watch this. Prince Puma and the guy.
Muertes?
No, the guy he doesn't get along with.
Johnny Mundo?
Nope.
No, they're friends.
Vampiro-looking guy in a mask.
Oh, the guy everybody loves. He's got the black Pentagon.
Yeah,
Pentagon Jr.
Prince Puma and Pentagon Jr. versus some group in a tag team match. It was
TriStar or something like that.
No, it was some death shit. I don't know. But I'm throwing a flag because Prince Puma hit a jumping springboard. Shooting star press to the outside. He was already back on his feet before he even landed. 0 selling, 0 nothing. And I watched the whole match, and there was no selling whatsoever. So my question to you is every match like that because of the luchador style? Is it just spot, or is there some good storytelling in Lucha Underground?
Usually, from what I've seen, there's pretty good storytelling. But yeah, there's a lot of high-flying spots that they get up quick. You know, especially in the Puma matches because he does crazy shit. And,
yeah, he always does.
And Mundo Morrison, he does, very similar style. Not as good as
Angelico, Jack
Ricochet.
Evans, those guys are very similar too. But I could see why Cornette went on the rant about Lucha Underground that he did. To be honest with you,
Yeah, I mean,
for an old school guy like Jim Cornette, even Jim Ross, Jim Ross is the king of complaining about selling, and for good reason because he's from the old guard where you could sell. The Texas Tornado got over with a discus punch as his finisher. But
I'm sorry. Did Ross complain about the selling in Lucha?
I don't know. He complains about selling all the time. I don't know if he's complaining about it in Lucha. But for him to just turn around, hit a jumping springboard shooting star press to the outside, and just get up, and I'm like, man, where's the suspicion of belief?
Right.
Disbelief? There's some sentence in there I'm looking for. But I don't know.
Was it the beginning of the match, end of the match, middle match?
It was a 10-minute clip, and it was about halfway through, so probably halfway through the match.
Okay, all right.
But I don't know. I do like Ricochet, but I think he could definitely benefit from slowing down a little bit.
Yeah, he's 100 miles an hour the whole way. He's a full indie guy,
Yeah. So, but anyway, that was my flag for the day. I'm done. I'm good.
Joe, do you have a flag of the day?
I have no flag yet, but do we want to talk a little bit about...
I want to talk about what Joe's eating. What are you eating, buddy?
It's a cookie.
What kind of cookie? Like a chocolate chip?
Yeah.
Nice.
Awesome. Do you want to talk about Raw? Is that what you're going to say?
Well, specifically, the Shane McMahon situation. 'Cause I think Brian and I think, talked about it the last time we did one of these things. But, Mike, you were in Florida at the time. So, and I think just your interpretation or thought on not necessarily just his return, but also the storyline with Undertaker as far as do you like it, do you not like it, does it interest you, stuff like that.
I like the return to Shane. I like the angle up until this Monday, really. Not up until this Monday because I still like the angle. I like the Shane McMahon. Oh my God, he came back. I don't love that he's going to have a headlining match at WrestleMania, nor do I like the reason for Vince McMahon using the Undertaker. The way he kind of made it seem like the Undertaker was his bitch that he couldn't control, and there was zero reason he could have. I don't care. He could have kidnapped his fucking cat for all I care. Give me a reason why the Undertaker would give a shit about wrestling Shane McMahon. That's all.
Yeah, I guess they should have played it up more, I thought, in terms of Undertaker not necessarily even just doing it against his will, but like he kind of has to do it because Vince is the boss and he controls everything.
Yeah,
You know?
or even Vince like coaxing him into it week after week and building this up for a little while, and finally Undertaker just snaps and he's like, "You wanted this, you got it," blah blah, blah. And then he could have delivered that promo that he delivered on Monday. I would have been cool with that. I just don't like how there's zero lead up to it. I don't know. It just didn't seem very forced.
Yeah. Yeah, I think like something like I think maybe Brian, you might have even suggested something along these lines where like there's something in it for Undertaker, like whether it's a
rematch
title
with
match
Lesnar
or
or something. Yeah, that's a good idea.
something where it's like, okay, you do this for me, and I'll like Vince says, you do this for me, and then I'll repay you by doing this or something like that. And at least that way there's some sort of a something on the line for him, rather than him just kind of doing it because he has to. It kind of makes him seem a little bit weak. But I don't know.
Why not do something along the line where Taker wrestled, 3 or 4 events this year other than Mania? Right? He wrestled SummerSlam, Hell in a Cell. And that was it, actually, right?
I think
Yeah,
so.
when they buried the Wyatt family in like 5 consecutive events.
Oh, Survivor Series too. Yeah, good call. Why don't you do something like have Vince promise him a title shot at the pay-per-view of his choosing? Because then you get the Undertaker. Marks will be happy if he wins because they'd love to see him win the belt again. Shane's fighting for the company. They both got a major thing going on. Would make the match a lot better, I think.
No, instead, let's just have Undertaker come out, fly all the way to Raw to come out and goozle Vince McMahon, call him a bitch, and then leave.
Pretty much.
I
We have
didn't
4
book
weeks
it.
left. We have 4 weeks left, though, so hopefully they interpret a little more.
Yeah, I'll give the benefit of the doubt for now.
I know next week Shane's on the show, so they probably won't say too much about Taker, but in 2 weeks they're both on the show, so hopefully that does something.
Did you guys read who was training Shane McMahon to get back into wrestling shape?
I did.
The innovator of violence.
Tommy Dreamer. That's my dude. I had no idea him and Shane were such close friends. That's awesome. Good for him.
Did you also see the clip, Shane, I think it was tonight, of him working the knees? It was pretty good. It was pretty vicious.
No, I didn't see. Where's his
Check.
Facebook, his YouTube? I mean, his Instagram?
I think it was on Shane's Instagram or his Twitter, one of probably both. But it looks pretty good. It looked like he was training for a real MMA fight. Because you know what it is? Because Hell in a Cell is a fight. It's the fight.
Okay.
Did you guys miss Roman Reigns on this week's show?
Nope.
I did.
Next.
I did.
Next.
Well, you know what, Mike? One day you're going to want to join the Roman Empire, and the invite will not be there. So
I'm
we're going to
all
be built.
aboard. Listen, I'm all in for Roman Reigns. As long as Dean Ambrose beats Triple H at Cock Block or whatever the name of this pay-per-view coming up is.
By the way, did you guys happen to listen to the Taz show? I think it was earlier today, I guess, or yesterday. I
No.
think it was just yesterday with that PW Insider guy, Mike something or another.
Alvarez?
No, Johnson, Mike Johnson, I think his
Mike
name.
Oh,
is.
yeah, okay.
But apparently he said that the backup plan for the Mania main event is Dean Ambrose versus Brock Lesnar for the title, which I don't buy for not even half a second. That Dean would go over Triple H at this Roadblock event, and they would just go with that as the main event. Is that even possible? Like,
What would it be the backup? What's it the backup of? Like if Reigns can't wrestle or something? Or
yeah, he made it seem like if Reigns' nasal surgery kept him out, which there's no way. There's zero way, right?
I would think, yeah. I mean, I don't think I'd let a nasal surgery keep me out of a WrestleMania main event, but
That just screams.
Well-
that screamed clickbait to me. Like, for his website.
hmm
I mean, a friendly hug kept Titus O'Neil out of WrestleMania, so you never know.
But he's not Roman Reigns.
That's true.
Roman could have literally dick punched Vince McMahon, and he would have got a raise.
You're not wrong, Brian. You're not wrong. I think I like it. I think it's better than the main event currently. I also just saw they're looking to bring back Shawn and HBK and Mankind. Mick Foley for WrestleMania. I don't want that.
In what capacity did they say?
It didn't say. They were trying to get somebody to wrestle one more time. I don't know. read the whole article. But they said you can expect Mick Foley and Shawn Michaels to be at WrestleMania in a pretty large, quote-unquote, capacity.
Okay.
You know what would be better than, building off of your stars from 20 years ago? Building new stars that people want. Just me, though. The segment they had last year with Rousey and all that shit, I didn't like it personally. What was it, 2 years ago when it was Austin, Hogan, and Rock? When was that?
Yeah, that was 30.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. I can get behind that, but don't, how often does, Mick Foley come back? Like once every 4 months now? Shawn Michaels like once every 6 months, so. Bring back, like, Bob Backlund. How's that? I'll mark for that. Bring back, Crusher Khrushchev. Brian, speaking of Bob Backlund, do you have any idea why the Scott Hall versus Bob Backlund match at WrestleMania 9 was so short?
Funny you should ask that, Mike.
I was thinking about that before. I wanted to ask you.
I was talking to my good friend Scott, actually, and he actually hit me up on the Twitter machine. And,
I saw that. He DM'd you first.
Yeah, and then, he's like, let's make this public. I want to break some news. He said, basically, Bob Backlund did not want to take the Razor's Edge. And Scott Hall said he respected him so much, he listened to his wishes and out-wrestled the wrestler. And he hated that match, but he listened to what Backlund wanted to do, and they made it a 3-minute, basically, squash match. So, breaking news from the All Night Wrestling Long podcast, folks.
Nice.
22 years in the making.
I don't blame Backlund for not wanting to take it because he was like 50 when he came back, so.
Yeah, but it's WrestleMania, right?
It's WrestleMania 9. Nobody gave a shit back then. Was that the one that was in Caesars? Or was it WrestleMania?
Yeah, that was in Vegas. Yeah.
You know what the best thing about that WrestleMania was? Bobby Heenan and a camel.
Oh, camel.
Yeah. A camel was ratings, bro. He was over. What else about Raw did we want to talk about, if anything? We don't have to. I'm totally okay with talking about, like, Superstar 91.
The only thing I would say is where do we think the Jericho and Styles team is headed? Because next week they have so they beat New Day, right, on Raw last week, and now they're facing them in a title match on Raw next week. So do we think it's just going to be where they stay together as a team, or are they going to do a split where Jericho turns on Styles or something of that sort, and they end up fighting one-on-one again at WrestleMania?
They just came out
100%.
They just came out with a T-shirt as a team. It's Y2AJ. It says breaking walls and something on the back. It was the worst shirt I've ever seen.
Code breaking and risk taking, I believe, was the
Is that what it is?
I think so, yeah.
It was the worst shit I've ever heard.
I believe they will not be on sale in a week because AJ and Y2J will break up. 0% chance they stay together.
Imagine they just make them a team like the Rockers and like forever, and we never get an AJ singles run, which wouldn't surprise me. AJ is not a spring chicken, so this needs to be a very, very quick feud to get him over, and then get him on to bigger and better things. Because the last person I can remember that Y2J feuded with was Fandango.
Yep, pretty much.
And didn't he just turn heel? Sorry to interrupt. Didn't he just turn heel on Dean Ambrose like a couple months ago?
Well, I think they alluded to that, or they planted a seed for it at least. Because I think the plan at that point, my guess was that they were going to do Jericho and Ambrose at WrestleMania. That was back when Rollins was still there, and Cena was still there, and Orton was still there, and they probably had 8 different things that they were going to do with the card. And I think Jericho probably wanted to work with Ambrose, and I think that was probably what they were going to do. And then they just kind of dropped it because so many things changed. And at that point, they didn't even know they were going to have Styles in the mix, right? So
true.
Can I throw an idea at you guys?
Yeah.
So we're in agreement that they're going to break up, or at least we all think they should break up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And everybody says Jericho's going to turn heel, right?
Want to have Styles turn heel? Is that where you're going with this?
I want to have Styles turn heel and also debut Gallows and Anderson and start a little faction, a nice little heel faction, and then Balor can come up eventually and then possibly feud with AJ if you want, or he can even join. And
I think it's a good idea. The only issue I have is you have all these Balor Club shirts selling right now, and I don't think it would make sense to not have him debut the Bullet Club himself, you know?
Yeah, but I mean, they don't have to call themselves the Balor Club. They could be something totally different, you know. He's been
So
doing
it's
the
gonna be
Balor
the
Club
Balor
shirt
Club.
for. Well, he's had the Balor Club shirt for 6 months or so, and he's been only by himself. You know, what's another 6 months?
True. It's an option. How
I don't think Finn Balor's coming up anytime soon. Is my guess. That's why I think, and everything I've read that Gallows and Anderson were going to the main roster. So why not put him with AJ? You know, see what a little heel run can do, and then you can turn AJ face pretty quickly after that. You know, 6 months down the road.
He's going to be a drug-taking mute redneck in 4 months, mark my words.
I'd mark out for it.
Sure. Remember that look? He was like, it's pretty funny. Who's the other guy with him? Cletus? Was that his name?
Well, Festus was his name,
yeah,
right?
Festus was his name. Joe, this is a WrestleMania question.
What's the situation here?
Eugene? Eugene? No, not Eugene.
Wait, who are we talking
Who
about?
was Festus's brother?
Jesse.
Jesse.
Who was he? Do you know?
He was, I think he was Terry Gordy's son, wasn't he?
Really?
That is correct.
That's seriously impressive, you guys. Is he still wrestling?
I don't think so, but I have to go to the Wikipedia machine to double check. But
That's how good Raw was. We're talking about Terry Gordy's son.
Yeah, I think it was him.
Joe, how much did you enjoy like Stephanie's 15-minute promo this week?
Not a whole lot. I saw that a couple of the recaps I read that people really liked it, but I don't particularly care for her promo styles at this point. So, nor do I care for. This is when I start to dislike Triple H too, because while I can deal with him as the authority figure and all that stuff, but I can't really deal with him and how he gets booked when he's the champ. But he just kind of he had a promo with Ambrose right at the beginning of the show, and he kind of made Ambrose look like a joke. And then at the end of the show, he beat the crap out of him, right? He pedigreed him, and then he ended up beating the hell out of him, putting him on the announce table at the end also. And the week before, he did the same thing to Roman Reigns. So this is why I don't like.
Listen, I agree with you. I think he's slowly but surely turning into like a 2000 Hogan. Yeah,
But,
that's. Go ahead.
The other thing is, it's just like if you think about it, right? Like remember when Rollins was the champion, right? So he was champion from WrestleMania until what was it, like October or something, or October, November when he got hurt.
Right.
And like remember how like poorly he was booked in terms of like being weak? Like he constantly was doing jobs on Raw and in tag matches and stuff like that. And like the only way he ever got the upper hand at the end of a show was when he had like Kane and Big Show and other people with the authority. Yeah, J&J Security and all that stuff like helping him. But yet when Triple H is the champion, he looks dominant for 2 weeks on top.
He books himself as a face.
Yeah. So like, why couldn't they book Rollins that strongly on his own when he was champion to get him positioned as a big threat? But instead they do the opposite and they make him out to be a vulnerable champion, because their argument is more people will watch if the champion seems vulnerable because they're more apt to see a title switch. But then when Triple H is a champion, it switches to, ass kicking, badass guy and all that stuff. It just seems like it's a very hypocritical way of booking their wrestlers. But that's the stuff that irritates me about it even more.
Well, I mean, they book Sheamus the same way. He kind of looks like a little bitch too.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. The only guy they don't book that way really is Brock, right? Because
which is awesome. But I mean, even down to their IC champion, they book Kevin Owens like a joke for a while too.
Yeah.
He was walking away from matches, and if you're gonna have one guy who's a badass heel as a champion, it should be Kevin Owens. It should be Triple H, who, he looks the part more than Kevin Owens does, but he's almost 50.
Yeah, we could go on and on, right? Like Del Rio is the same type of thing, and Wyatt is the same type of thing, and Rusev was the same type of thing. They'd all just kind of like.
Oh, I'm throwing another flag, by the way, Joe. Hold on.
Okay.
I need an actual flag. Flag on Rusev for his comments towards Jay Lethal.
I laughed so hard at that.
Why don't you recap it, Mike, for us? So what was it? There was
No. Well, why don't we let Siskel and Ebert over here? BK tell me how much he loved it. Go ahead.
Well, somebody asked Rusev. Rusev was going on one of his classic Twitter, reply binge, if you will, and somebody said, "What do you think about Jay Lethal?" And I believe Rusev said, "What's Jay Lethal?"
No, somebody asked Rusev, "Why is Jay Lethal better than you?"
Oh, right. So what do you expect Rusev to say?
I don't know. I would just speaking of a joke, though. I mean, not to knock Rusev, but when he came in, he was very much that dominant heel who took him 2 years to lose, and now he's like a funny guy. He's kind of like a Big Show now. He's like a funny guy, part of a super group, and nobody can win anything individually. And I haven't even seen, say what you want about Sheamus, but I haven't even seen him on TV weeks. I'm sure he's been there, but he's been that forgettable.
That's not Rusev's fault.
No, it's not, but I'm just saying they're throwing. I mean, Rusev, when was his last big singles win? He was destroying everybody every single week with the accolade and awesome super kicks and looking like a badass, and now he's just another punk mid-carder.
Unfortunately, John Cena ruined another guy. That's basically what it comes down to.
How John Cena put Rusev over. Rusev and Lana ruined Rusev. That was the biggest problem they had.
Joe, can you back me up on this one? Did John Cena put Rusev over?
What did he do? I think Rusev beat him once, right when he passed out in the accolade.
Then Cena proceeded to beat him at the next 3 shows.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And then they split Rusev and Lana at that point, and that's when it all really started to spiral out of control, right, for him?
Yeah. Yeah, he put him over, sure. He definitely put him over.
Well, he's too busy smooching his stupid girlfriend on Facebook and announcing their engagement. You're completely breaking kayfabe. You have a storyline where they're broken up and she's fucking Ziggler, and banging Ziggler, whatever, and he's with Summer Rae, and then you just completely ruined the line. No wonder he's still. That's probably why they're booking the way they are now. He's still paying for that move.
Yeah, but he didn't do anything. That was all Lana.
Yeah, probably. I think he got buried a little bit from that, and he's not recovered from it because they don't really want to even. They don't even care about making him recover from that. I think so.
No, because I mean, you're right. I mean, after the loss to Cena, it wasn't easy on him. But to do some stuff like that, it just wasn't what's best for business, Joe.
He also got hurt. That didn't help.
Yeah, so it's just been a rough stretch for Rusev the character. Not so much Rusev the real person, because he gets to marry Lana at some point.
It's a good point.
So basically he wins.
Yeah. All right, was there anything else that you guys wanted to talk about this week?
No.
In terms of... Okay. Oh, God.
I did like the Sasha Banks and Becky Lynch match.
Yeah, I thought that from Raw, for the #1 contender. Yeah.
Yep.
The execution was terrible, but the match was really good. The ending execution, as Mike pointed out as we watched it the other night. Not that you guys would know that, but I'll give you a little insight to our life. Mike was the first to point out the execution to the double pin was just poor.
And we're giving credit, as Joe pointed out, we just saw that 2 weeks ago on NXT, Joe.
Yeah, they're doing that whole thing with Samoa Joe and Sami Zayn, right? They're trying to find a #1 contender for Finn Balor at the Dallas Takeover show, and they did like a double pin, right, on Baron Corbin, double submission, right, on Baron Corbin, yeah. And then they did a one-on-one match where they both had their shoulders pinned, and that led to a 2 out of 3 falls match, which I think is next week on NXT.
Yep.
I believe it's the whole show, right?
I think it works out to be almost like at the full hour of the show is just that one match, I think.
Oh, so the main event gets an hour? Huh? Ring of Honor? Huh? Terry Silkin? Main event gets an hour, huh? Tight. And that's whatever.
Do you think that ROH thought Ryback was in the main event for some reason and put it into a 15-minute match?
No, I think they thought Tugboat was in the main event, give a 4.5-minute match. What else is going on? That's really all I can think of. I mean, SmackDown's tomorrow night. I didn't read the spoilers. I'm sure you guys probably did already. So I don't know what happens on SmackDown, but I'm interested to see what they're. Isn't Taker on it this week or somebody important?
I don't think nobody.
Lesnar?
Out of the ordinary. No, I don't think so.
On SmackDown?
Yeah.
Uh,
Somebody, right? I'm not crazy?
I think
Last
last
week-
week Triple
Yeah,
H was
Triple
on.
H.
Oh, okay, that's what it was, yeah.
Yeah. This week I think it's I think the main event ends up being Ambrose and Owens.
Let's
Yes,
see
it
that
does.
match then. Who's the IC champion? Is it Owen still?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
that's what we didn't talk about on Raw. Owens in the Big Show.
Yep. There's a reason for that, probably.
Speaking of dick punches,
Hey, you think Owens wakes up and he goes to work and like, hey, listen, Kevin, we have a big opportunity for you. He's like, yeah, what is it? He's like, we're gonna put you in a feud with the Big Show, and he's like, tight. And then they're like, hey, and the feud's gonna be centered around countouts. It's like, how do you wake up and come to work the next day?
there's no way that this is actual feud, though, right? This is just filler to get to like 2 weeks from Mania to start the IC title ladder match feud.
Oh, and then you have Dolph Ziggler losing to The Miz in like a minute. So things are really making sense over on the USA Network on Mondays.
All right. Well,
I want
Can
Brock
we
Lesnar
talk-
back. I want Brock back. I want Cesaro back. I want more swagger. I want Tyson Kidd. These are the things I want, Brian.
Tyson-
Make them happen.
Tyson Kidd might never wrestle again.
He'll be fine.
Unfortunately.
He'll be fine.
Okay. Can we talk TNA?
No.
I'm just kidding. Nobody wants to talk TNA. I'm just
I was going to say, you can talk TNA and I'll listen because I don't know anything. Except for Michael
All I
Bennett's been killing it. And kudos to Michael Bennett and Maria. They're super over.
All I know about TNA is I personally asked EC3 to be on the show, and he has no sold so far. So that's the extent of my TNA knowledge.
Well, now that you're putting it out there, they got no soul by EC3. Guess you have to turn heel. You suck, EC3. I'm just kidding.
And EC3 is a face. Faces don't usually no sell, but what can you do?
He's a face now?
Yeah, he turned. Joe backed me up on this, right? Did he turn a month ago, 2 months ago?
yeah, they switched him and Matt Hardy. They double turned him.
Oh, nice.
Because you know what a wrestling company in 2016 needs? Matt Hardy as their champion.
Big money, Matt Hardy, bro.
Let's not forget Baby Hardy, bro.
Big money, Matt Hardy as a champion, and the Big Show in the main event picture on Raw. Things are really coming up aces for the old wrestling fan.
The more things change, the more they stay the same.
Well, I am looking forward to us going to War of the Worlds, Ring of Honor. Pretty pumped about that.
When is that again?
May 14th. I know the date very fucking well now.
Oh, so we got some time.
Yeah, we got some time.
Is the pay-per-view before or after that?
Pay-per-view is 2 nights before.
Yeah.
So pay-per-view's on a Wednesday?
Well, 2 shows before. I'm not sure how that comes in.
Gotcha. Okay.
So
we should be getting some new, fresh feuds probably and stuff, I would think.
yeah, by that point, I'm assuming it'll be Dalton Castle and Bobby Fish and BJ Whitmer and Kyle O'Reilly at this rate. So.
And probably Jay Lethal will probably drop the title to Truth Martini.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, speaking of double turns, we'll talk about that next week. I don't want to spoil it, but anything else you guys want to talk about? Did we touch on everything?
No, I think that's pretty comprehensive for this week, fellas. Considering
Last chance to talk TNA. Last chance.
It is getting
we
late.
got a little pop in there. We got like 90 seconds in there on TNA. They got on the show. So
You know what? My dog, he took a poop today, so that's about as good as TNA, right?
I always thought dogs laid eggs. I will talk about NYWC and Bull Dempsey hanging out at Jim in Riverhead before I'll talk about TNA.
Nice.
All right.
Nice.
All right, buddy. So then, I guess that's it. Hopefully this thing makes it to the internet. I don't know. We'll see how this wraps up here when I stop the broadcast, but can't make any promises.
All right, we're doing the best we can. Sounds like I will see you guys next week. Oh, and
Yeah,
before we get anything else, Conor McGregor is getting choked out by Nate Diaz this Saturday.
No effing way.
I
Would
thought
you
you
like
said
to put
it
a?
was
I refuse to curse in the talking of the God, Mystic Mac.
Oh my God, you're such a McGregor mark. I'll give you 10 to 1
100%.
odds. $10.
I was gonna say, well, you're so confident, Nate. Why can't we put a friendly little radio wager or something?
Yeah, give me 10. All right, give me 10 to 1 odds.
Well, I was gonna say if McGregor wins by knockout, you have to praise Rusev for 2 minutes. And,
I'll do you one better. I'll praise Russo for 2 minutes.
Okay, and if Nate Diaz wins,
No, hold on. When Nate Diaz shocks the world, I want 400 to 600 words, double spaced, on why Ryback is the worst professional wrestler in the last 5 years.
I could make it up, but I mean, if it's not true, it's not true. But you know.
Joe, you bear witness to this.
All right.
Okay. Well, I'm exhausted. Until next time, always a pleasure.
Later on, Mike. Later on, Joe.
Enforcer, tapping out.